Y'all, okay. Oh, it's just so much to unpack. Okay, hold on, because I want to talk about this. I want to talk about, because we hear, and sometimes we even are the ones that say this whole let go and let God thing. We don't really, like you said, we're not really asking for that strength or just preparing ourselves to really handle what that process may look like. And so my thing is, you know, when we hear let go and let God, or just when we say those things, how do we emotionally or just mentally prepare to just really surrender to God the things that we thought we wanted? Because I think sometimes when you've been praying for something and when you've been asking for something and God finally gives it to you, and then like at the beginning, like we just said, that thing has outlived its purpose and it's time to let go of that, but that was the thing that you begged and pleaded and fasted for, and it's like, how do you turn around and surrender? Because this is my issue. Like, God, okay, I asked you for this and now you want me to give it back? Like, what? What is that? So how do you mentally or just emotionally prepare yourself to surrender the things that you thought you wanted?
Ooh, that is, oh my gosh, because I think that is something that I still to this day struggle with. And I think there are a lot of times where people are assumed to be experts on subjects because they look like they're carrying it well, but it's like, no, I struggle too, and this is how. And I think one thing we have to think about is our attachment to things, right?
Yeah.
We're attached to titles. We're attached to relationships. We are even attached to our stories. For a long time, when I was in my healing journey, and I'm still in that healing journey, I was so attached to my broken story that I really wasn't even making room for me to have victory in that. And so I think we have to release our attachment first to those things. Why am I so attached to this thing that I asked God for? He gave it to me. Why am I so attached to this thing? And so I think asking yourself that will allow you to see the root of why you're attached. Some of us see our worth in titles, in positions, in relationships. Yes. And we don't see our worth outside of that. And that is often sometimes why God wants us to release it. Is you see so much of yourself in this, and this is actually not the only thing that I have for you. So I need you to release this so that you can make room for more. And you know that meme that they have with Jesus with this taking away this little small teddy bear, but he has a huge one behind him.
Yeah.
And I think that is what God has for us when we do release those things. But the thing there is sometimes we release and there is a waiting period before we get to the other side. And a lot of us give up in that waiting period. Okay, I release this thing, God. Where my blessing at? Where my thing at? Sometimes he just wants to see, how long will you be obedient? How long will you surrender? Because surrendering is a minute by minute process, not something that you say when you're at the altar at church. God, I surrender. We love to say that on Sunday, but on Monday, you might pick that thing back up. So are you going to be consistent in your surrendering and in your obedience? Will you remain that way? Will you trust him enough to be able to do that without seeing the thing on the other side yet? And some of us can't. We're like, like I gave this up, you ain't gave me nothing else. Like, I'm confused, I don't understand. And sometimes what he has on the other side of us, on the other side of that, will take time to develop. Because he's like, okay, I just want to see if you want to release these things first. I want to see how long you can stay in this process. How long can you stay surrendered? Okay, once I see the consistency that you have with that, then I'll give you a thing, because I don't want to give it to you prematurely, because if I do, you're going to mess it up. Yeah. So I need there to be a time period in between this before I give you something. And that's where faith comes in. And a lot of us struggle with faith because we are millennials. We're a society that are microwave, where is it? Right. If it's here, I guess it ain't working, so I'm going to give up. And that's not how he operates. Baby. Our faith walk is so illogical to society. And that is why some of us struggle. That's why millennials struggle, I think, the most in our walk. And why we constantly question God is because it doesn't make sense to the things that we've been taught. We've been taught that if you do this, this, and this, and you'll get that. And bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. No. What happened to Job? I'm talking about God took a lot, too much from Job. And it's like, we have to understand that this faith walk is not a walk in the park, one thing. Two, we have to be consistent with it. Three, there is no perfection here. And all we have to do is continue to surrender. Just because you picked that thing back up yesterday doesn't mean that you cannot surrender it today or in the next minute or in the next hour. Realizing and becoming self-aware enough to know I have held on to this thing for too long. Now it's blocking my blessings. Now I see the detriment that it has in my life, because I think that's where I'm at in my life, is realizing, whoa, you have really held on so long, sis, that you are blocking the things that are coming to your life. I don't need no other confirmation about that.
Yeah.
Too many people in my life have told me the same thing. Not only have they told me, I have felt it.
Yeah.
You are really blocking your blessings out here. And I think it takes us getting fed up with our own selves and us being in our own way for us to say, okay, I surrender this. And it's not, like I said, it's not easy. It's a continuous thing. And that's another problem I think we have as millennials, is we don't like an undefined journey. Like, tell me where the end point is, and I'll meet you there.
I just talked about that. Keep going now. Keep going.
Like, healing, no defined journey. Like, there's not an end point there. The faith walk, not defined. Surrendering, not defined. And it wasn't until I was in a therapy session and my therapist, I was telling her I should be over this and I should have been through and got through this. And she looked at me and she said, Jasmine, do you think there is an endpoint here? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, no, it's not. Like, in every season, something new. God will reveal something else broken in your life that you will need to heal from. Like, this is not, there's not an endpoint here. And I think that can make you sad if you look at it in that way. But it should really strengthen you to know that you are always going to be on a progressive journey. And that because there is no end point, you don't have to be this certain way in the midst of that journey. And so I think those are things that I had to realize and understand before I really started to be able to truly surrender and to not get mad about the subtraction, but to be thankful that he loves me enough to subtract things that are distracting me. He wants to see this thing play out so well in my life that he is like, I got to remove all of it. Oh, she's going to be mad, but I love her enough to do it when she's mad. She'll get over it, and I'm going to still love her. And so realizing that about my relationship with God was huge in me being able to be okay with subtraction.
Girl, because it's the patience for me. Like, that's where I am now. And like the waiting season, I'm getting weary. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, because it's just like, I literally I think I can't remember which episode it was, but I talked about deadlines, and that was one of the things why I struggled so much, I think, in just like this purpose journey and passion journey, is because I've always operated off deadlines, whether it was school, you graduated this day, you get a job, you do this. And like now I'm in a season of my life where there's just no end date to anything. And I think that's why I struggle so much on my weight journey. I wanted to lose weight, but it's just like, okay, if there's no deadline, it's like hard for me to do it. Like it should be more of a lifestyle change instead of let me get it together for 6 months, or let me do this until my birthday. And I think I've always operated like that. And I think now it's so funny that you say that, because now God has me in a waiting season, a patience season. And I really think it's like, okay, let's see, how can you be committed and consistent? Let's see, can you be disciplined? Let's see, do you have self-control? Even with like relationships, like this has been a whole thing. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, God, I feel like I'm doing what I need to do, but okay, where is he? Like I'm trying to do things right. And I think, when I talk to some of my friends, and a lot of them are, they have great jobs, make 6 figures, and they're single. And that's like the main question is like, why am I single? Why is it that she, or, it's like this comparison thing, like she's not even doing X, Y, and Z, or just why is it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a valid question. But when you said that, like, we grew up learning that, good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, and that's just how it is. I think it's an eye-opener, or just like an awakening experience, especially now when you see people doing the bare minimum, or just living this life outside the will of God on social media, and they're making millions from it. And like, you over here trying to figure out why you in student debt, and it's like, you going to church, and you fasting, you tithing, you celibate, you trying to do things right, and it's like, sis over here got a nigga buy her Birkin bags. Like,
Listen,
what's going on? Like, what's really happening here?